Time for another grammatically correct production from GrammarOnline.org.
Alright, welcome to lesson 17.2. We are talking about more linking verbs. So this is following up from lesson 17.1 where we just introduced linking verbs. This is going to be more linking verbs than just the verb forms of to be. So let's go ahead and get started. Remember those 5 most common linking verbs that were the forms of to be? Remember I made you say them like 10 times fast? I think I made you say them 10 times. Let's say them again. Go ahead. What were they? Alright. It should have been am, are, is, was, were. And those are the 5 most common of your linking verbs. Am, are, is, was, and were are your past and present forms of the verb to be. And so we're going to be talking about some other forms of linking verbs today, though, as well. In talking about whether or not a verb is action or linking, we're looking at whether or not there's an action being completed or whether it's just connecting the information. So when we're looking at these examples here, I have the same verb. I say, I feel the sand in my shoes, and I feel excited about verbs. Both of them have to do with feeling something, but the question is which one is an actual physical action and which one is just linking information. So the physical action, of course, would be feeling the sand in my shoes. So I physically can feel that. It might be pretty uncomfortable, but it probably means I'm at the beach, so I don't even care. And the next one, it says, I feel excited about verbs. When I'm wondering if something like this is a linking verb, there's a really quick trick that I can do, actually, to be able to tell. Most of the time, if I was confused about this second sentence here, I'll put a little star beside it, and I was like, is this a linking verb or an action verb? What I can do is replace it with one of the linking verbs and see if it makes sense. So in this case, since it's present tense and it's the pronoun I starting my sentence, I could replace it with am, and it would say, I am excited about verbs. Yep, that makes sense. I am excited about verbs. That's why we're talking about it. So in that case, feel down here would be a linking verb. Whereas this one, in the first sentence, is an action verb because I'm physically feeling that. Okay? So, again, if the sentence makes sense with the form of to be, replacing that verb, most of the time it will be a linking verb. You may have some that are a little fuzzy, but most of the time that rule is going to hold pretty true for you. So if you're not quite sure if it's a linking verb or an action verb, replace it with am, are, is, was, or were, and see if that makes sense. If it does, then it's a linking verb. Obviously, use your common sense. Don't get crazy. When you're trying to sort this sort of thing out, if it doesn't make sense right away, then likely you're trying too hard. Okay? So let's look at some examples. So again, we talked about feel. So I feel the sand in my shoes. It's a physical thing. It's an action verb. And then I feel excited about verbs. I can replace feel with am. It's a linking verb. Woohoo! So we are good there. Next one says appear. I appeared happy. The ghost appeared in the doorway. I think these situations might be separate situations, but that's neither here nor there. They're the same verb. Let's work with it. So take a second, pause your video, and then decide whether or not these are, which one's a linking verb, which one is an action verb. Alright, based on the rule we did earlier, where we talked about that if I can replace it with am, are, is, was, or were, and I'm looking for a physical action to determine between the two, the first one says, I appeared happy. Now I can replace that with I was happy. Let me do that. And that makes sense. If I said the ghost was in the doorway, well, that could make sense, but the verb appear in a physical sense means you weren't there and then all of a sudden you were. And so I would stick with appeared in order to keep my meaning here. So I would keep this one down here as an action verb. Meanwhile, this one here, this form of appeared, makes more sense as being a linking verb. I can replace it with one of my forms of to be, plus it links back happy to what I am. Alright, let's look at one more example really quick. Last but not least, you have the verb grow. And this can be either linking or action. So you have, he grew tired of the lecture and I grew flowers on the porch. Take a second again, pause your video, see which one's which, looking for either action or linking for the verb group. Alright, so now that you've paused your video and you've determined which one's which, we're looking here at grew. It says he grew tired. Tired is describing he, and so grew can also be replaced with was, therefore making it a linking verb. So that grew would be my linking verb. Here grew, I grew flowers on the porch. It's something I'm physically doing. Flowers is not describing me. It's not a predicate noun that's giving more information about me. Grew is telling the action that happened to the flowers. So this would be an action verb here. Okay? So that should give you a little more information about some other types of linking verbs. And a good idea would be to then go through some of the practice so you can see where some verbs that you might not expect can also be linking verbs. But again, you always have am, are, is, was, were to fall back on with that trick of replacing it. And also looking to see, is it linking information like a predicate noun or predicate adjective back to your subject.